Welcome and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be going through Yin and Yang Practice, and all that means is that we're going to be alternating between flowing movements, they'll be gentle, just a little bit of strength building, and then going into a Yin pose where we'll be holding a shape for 2 to 3 minutes maybe, and then again moving and flowing. So we'll kind of alternate back and forth. And I wanted to start by sharing a reading from one of my favorite books called The Yamas and the Niyamas by Deborah Adele. This is what it looks like. I read from this book all the time because it doesn't seem to matter how many times I read it and reread it. I change in the interim between reading it, and all of a sudden it has new relevance again to me, so I wanted to share it. And I wanted to share a reading about the difference between being real and being nice. And I have a couple of people in my life that are really, really nice, but I always feel like I don't really know them. They're very good at saying what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear. And I always am left wondering what they really think. And I'm so curious, like, I just want to know what you really think. Like, how do you really feel? And this reading kind of talks about that. So maybe you have someone like that in your life, or maybe you are that person, and maybe today is a day where you'll make a decision to just experiment with being a little bit more real. And this is in relation to the Yama Satya. So Satya is about truthfulness. Speaking your truth, speaking the truth, and knowing the difference. So here's the reading. Carl Jung writes, "A lie would make no sense unless the truth was felt to be dangerous. Why do we lie? Are we afraid to hurt someone's feelings, or afraid if we told the truth we would not be liked or admired anymore? I have a friend who says, I pick the right size box, put myself in it, wrap it up with pretty paper and a bow, and then present myself to the other person. I have another friend who states, I always show up differently with different people. My biggest fear is that everyone I know will be in the same room at the same time, and I won't know who to be. And then there's this whole topic of nice. I once heard my guru say that you have to watch out for nice people. Being a nice person myself, I was at first offended and then confused. So I took this statement to heart and began pondering its truth. I began to see the distortion that sits between nice and real. Nice is an illusion, a cloak hiding lies. It is an imposed image of what one thinks they should be. It is a packaging of self in a presentable box, imposed by an outer authority. People who are nice hold truth inside until they reach a breaking point, and then they become dangerously inappropriate. Real comes from the center of our unique essence and speaks to the moment from that center. Real has a boldness to it, an essence, a spontaneity. Real asks us to live from a place where there is nothing to defend and nothing to manage. It is a contact with the moment that is not superimposed or prepackaged. Real is something we might not always like in another, but we come to know there will be no surprises. Real, though not always pleasant, is trustworthy. And I think for me that's why people that are really nice or very polite, especially politically correct people, I feel like I can't trust them. I feel like I can't share my personal truths because I don't think I'll get an accurate response. Not accurate, but I won't get a truthful or real response back. I'll get like a prepackaged response. And then that prevents me from having a deeper connection with these people. And I'm not preaching. I'm just saying that I struggle with this just as much as everybody else, I'm sure. Not wanting to say things that are offensive or hurtful. And maybe the hardest part for me is recognizing the fact that my truth is always changing and evolving. And so sometimes you're afraid to say what you're feeling or thinking because you probably intuitively know that down the road that will change, and then it'll look like you were lying or not telling the truth. But in essence, you just evolved or changed. So it's something for us to think about. And we're going to be moving through our practice, and I'm hoping that maybe some of that will just sort of percolate in the background, and you can give it some thought and see what you think. So we're going to start in a comfortable seat. Cross-legged is great if you can manage. Little lift under the sit bones should you need it. Again, props under the knees too if you need the support. And we'll create a nice tall spine. We want that slight firmness of the belly. Shoulders can be relaxed. We do want the lengthening through the neck and through the spine. So there's a certain degree of effort that's required. And then once you create the shape, there's a softening to the legs and the shoulders and even the arms, the muscles of the face. We'll start by closing down the eyes and just taking a few moments to think about how comfortable you are with taking off all the wrapping that we put on ourselves to present to others. And maybe you can do that just for your yoga practice. Just be really real and honest with yourself about your practice. Let's open the eyes, and we'll go through 3 rounds of Kapalabhati. This is our forceful exhale, passive inhale. It's through the nose, and we're going to do 3 rounds of 11. So how I cue it is you inhale fully, exhale fully, half an inhale, and then you kind of forcefully like pant out your nose like a dog, and it has a pumping action in the low belly. So it looks like this. Sometimes you need to have a tissue nearby. This is a cleansing pranayama. So yeah, you're literally like blowing your nose, but you're also pumping the low belly to push all of the air out of the lower lungs. Sometimes we breathe quite shallow, and this is a way of forcing ourselves to exhale more forcefully and fully. And again, it's a cleansing pranayama. If you're not comfortable with it, just sit quietly in your cross-legged and work on your posture. But here we go. Inhale fully, exhale fully, half an inhale to start, inhale, exhale, half an inhale to start, inhale, exhale, half an inhale to start, inhale, exhale, open the eyes if they were closed. And we're just going to move through 5 rounds of Analoma Viloma. We're going to do inhaling for 5, exhaling for 5. There's just a natural pause in between where you can retain the breath after the inhale. You can apply bandhas if you're comfortable with it. Otherwise, it's just inhaling for 5, exhaling for 5. I'll guide the first 2 rounds, and then I'll let you continue on your own. The first 2 are guided just so that you can remember the pattern. Left hand in Yana Mudra, so thumb and index finger together like the OK sign. palm up on your left knee. Right hand in Vishnu Mudra, middle finger and index finger to the thumb pad, and you're using your thumb for the right nostril, your other two fingers for the left. So for this one, you do maintain your nice tall spine, then you lean back slightly just so there's a firmness below the navel. And then keeping that, we're going to start. So I'll like you to plug the right, inhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Plug both. Exhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Inhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Plug both, hold briefly. Exhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Inhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Brief hold and pause. Exhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Inhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Brief hold and pause. Exhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Inhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Brief hold and pause. Exhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Inhale right, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Hold and pause. Exhale left, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, Om 5. Continue, inhale left. Finish the last round, ending with exhaling through the left. Release the hands to the knees of the thighs when you're complete. Remind yourself of any intention that you'd like to set, or perhaps just letting the ideas of Satya or nice versus real percolate. We'll flutter the eyes open, and our first posture is going to be child's pose. So move around a little bit. You might want to shake out your legs, and then we'll find our way into child's pose. I like to start with the knees a little bit wider, so big toes are touching. Hips are back towards the heels. Arms are going to stretch out nice and long in front. Forehead is going to come onto something. So if it doesn't come to the floor, you bring a prop underneath. And if you need a little something between your thighs and your calves, please add a bolster or a blanket. as you get settled down into your child's pose, have the eyes closed down and take your focus to the sound of your breath. From this shape, it's easier to pay attention to the rhythm and the pattern of your breath. It shouldn't be too fast or too slow. If you'd like to add an ujjayi sound, that's a wonderful practice, especially in child's pose. It can be very soothing. So just a slight sound as you inhale. There's a vibration at the back of the throat, and a sound as you exhale, again, a vibration at the back of the throat. And we're just going to hold into this shape, and know that while you're in the shape, you can make small shifts. You could rock your hips from side to side. You could take your knees wider or narrower. You could change how your arms are positioned. So you might need to take the hands farther apart. You may want to cross the hands or even bring your palms together. You may want to take the palms to the back of the neck of the head. Or maybe today, hands between the legs, or even reaching back to the outsides of the heels. So we're going to be staying in child's pose for another couple of minutes. Move if you have to move, and then if you find comfort or a sweet spot, settle into it and focus primarily on the breath and maybe any of those ideas or thoughts that are percolating about Satya. Mull them over, think it through, and we'll move in just a few moments. From child's pose, you're going to bring yourself back up, and we're going to bring the knees together so that we can rise up into tabletop. So hands and knees. Extra padding under the knees should you require it. Extra padding under the heel pads of your hands if your wrists don't like the flexion. Know that you could also be on fists or forearms should you need to. We're going to go moving through our flow. So we want the knees nice and close together, toes untucked if you can manage it. And then just take your hands slightly farther ahead of the shoulders so that you can let your weight shift forward. So here's our plank on the knees. We want firmness through the belly and a nice long straight line from the back of the shoulders to the back of the knees. When you're ready, you're going to turn your upper arm bones so that they rotate out. And you'll know that this has happened because the eye of your elbow will go from facing each other to rotating forward. So the place where you get blood taken from is now facing forward, but your hands have not moved. So the hands are in the same shape. The upper arms have rotated. What this will do will make your elbow point, now instead of facing out towards the side of your mat, the elbow point is facing to the back of your mat. And this will allow you to use your triceps primarily as you lower down. So once you're in plank on the knees, the elbow points are back. Just the elbows bend as you slowly lower the body all the way to the mat. Toes are already untucked. You're going to firm up the legs. So press down to the tops of your feet. Lift the knees up and away from the floor. Press down through the hip bones. And then roll the shoulders down and back. Squeeze shoulder blades and elbows together as you peel yourself up and away from the floor. Doesn't matter how high you lift. What does matter is that you can feel the muscles of your mid to low back working to do the lift. And the hands, if they're too far forward, sometimes they can get too active. So maybe taking the hands slightly farther back and isolating the muscles to the back, not to the hands. Then we're going to do 3 ups and downs. So you're going to lower, you'll rise up, you'll release, you'll rise up. Usually it's an inhale that takes you up, an exhale that takes you down. We'll do one more. Meeting with our body down, press into the knees. So now the knees are pressing into the floor, they're not lifted. And we're going to simply straighten the arms. So keep the elbows close to the ribs, firm through the belly, and press up. Glide your hips back towards the heels. Have a brief pause in child's pose, but don't let your hands move. So you only get to go back as far as you can without the hands sliding on your mat. And then we'll inhale, roll back up, plank on the knees. Exhale down to the belly, elbow points alongside the ribs. 3 rolling cobras, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down. Last one, inhale, roll up, exhale down. Now let the knees press into the floor, keep the elbows close, press back up, plank on the knees, hips glide back to heels, hands don't move, so you only get to go back as far as you can without the hands sliding. And one more time, inhale, plank on the knees, rotate the upper arm bones, exhale down to the floor. Inhale, curl up, legs are firm. Exhale, roll down. Inhale, curl up. Exhale down. Very little weight into the hands. Let the back do the work. Exhale, release. Knees and hands press as you straighten the arms. Press up. This time slide all the way back into child's pose. So let the hands slide now. And take your hands eventually back towards the heels of the feet. Forehead is resting on something. Rise back up, tabletop, hands and knees. From tabletop, step the left foot forward. Drag it, grab it, however you can get it up so that's between the hands. And then adjust the back knee. So you may want to slide the back knee a little farther back. And your back toes will stay tucked. Once you have the back knee positioned, and add extra padding should you require it, we're going to bring the hands to the forward knee. So rising up, hands to the knee, firm through the belly. So we don't want to get too much of a dip or an arch in the low back. We're going to pull the belly up, keep the low back supported, and you can use your hands to also support. If you want a little more sensation, you can let your hips slide down and forward, keeping the belly firm, and getting a deeper sensation through the back hip flexor. Either one, you gotta keep the belly nice and firm. Protect your back, okay? We're going to hold here. And you can think about Satya. How comfortable are you with speaking your truth? I was told a story once about a very famous guru, let's call him a guru, or a teacher. And eventually, at some point in his career, quite late in his career, he developed throat cancer or throat disease of some sort. And his students were just like, wow, like, how did you get sick? How did this happen? And he was very honest about the fact that he wasn't able to speak his truth all the time. There was things about him that he kept hidden, and he wasn't able or willing to share his truth. And he felt that this was a result of it. So when you're not able to speak your truth, you hold repress emotions, you repress thoughts or feelings, and it can maybe result in manifestation in the physical body. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, it's just maybe depending on how you believe or what you believe. But I always thought that that was interesting that he voiced it finally. So I wasn't able to speak my truth. And this is my lesson. This is me kind of being forced to now speak my truth. So I always thought that was interesting. All right, so from here, this is our yin pose, by the way. We're just holding, and I'm talking to keep you interested, hopefully. We're going to bring the hands back down to the mat, but they're going to be a little farther back, so closer to the hips. And now you're going to start to glide. So you're going to let the hips go back, the front leg will straighten, and then you'll glide back forward. How far you go or how fast you move is up to you. I want to bring movement back in. So here's the yang part of the practice. We're not going to get super warm through our yang practices. We're not going to do them for very long. So we're still getting all the benefits of holding our yin postures with colder muscles. And to be honest, there's benefits of holding postures longer whether the muscles are cold or warm. Different, but still benefits. So now come forward and plant your palms down if they weren't already, or bring them onto blocks. Keep your back toes tucked, and now continue the movement, but lift the back knee. And now you're gliding forward and back with the back knee lifted. So you're going from a lunge to like a wide pyramid pose or Parsvottanasana. You can always come back up onto the fingertips if you need a bit of space. Or as always, blocks under the hands are amazing. So we'll just glide forward and back a few more times. You're working on lengthening through the backs of both legs, keeping long through the spine. And you can practice your Satya truthfulness here. You know, if you need those blocks, add them. If you can't get your legs straight, who cares? It's okay. You're still getting a great stretch. And we're going to do our last glide back. And we're going to meet back with the back knee down. And we'll switch sides. So left foot back. Right foot forward. Adjust the back knee to just the right position for you today. And we'll rise up, hands to the forward knee. Right away, lots of firmness through the low belly. And we'll hold here. Again, you can be more upright, more like two 90-degree angles on the knees. Or you can let that sinking down action happen, where your front knee goes a little farther over your front foot. Belly stays firm. Hips get lower, you got this sort of scooping action. Don't forget about the belly. We're just going to hold, I'm not going to talk this time. Just a couple more breaths here as we hold. You want it to be a fairly strong sensation, but one that doesn't alter your breath. So if you find that you're holding your breath to keep the shape is too much, if your breath is super slow and you're getting kind of bored and your mind is wandering, then the pose isn't challenging enough. So somewhere in between there, the Goldilocks rule. Keeping your belly firm here, we're going to bring the hands back down. You'll start the gliding forward and back. So the back knee is down for this one to start. Bringing movement back in, trying to find some ease. You may choose to keep the front foot down, or it might peel and lift back. Meeting back at bent knee. Again, hands can be either down or on fingertips or on props. Tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, and then glide again with strong straight legs. Back and forth. Feel free to modify the speed that you're moving, how much you're moving. We'll meet back with the knee down, and we'll step the right foot back, tabletop. You can let your hips rock side to side, any other movement that you feel would be good for you. And then from back at tabletop, we're going to bring our forearms down to the mat. They're going to be parallel to each other. So we're not going to let the elbows flare out to the side. We're going to bring them so that the elbows are closer to under the shoulders and the arms are like railroad tracks. Again, so the even space between the elbows and the thumbs. And you're going to stay on your knees for a moment. And I just want you to start to press back and then roll forward. And you can decide how far forward you roll and how far back you press. If you wanted to make this a little stronger, you would tuck your toes and lift your knees, and you'd be in dolphin plank to dolphin down dog. Dolphin down dog, dolphin plank. And you can adjust the distance between your feet and your elbows to make it either easier or more challenging, or you can stay on the knees. We're going to bring the knees back down if they lifted, and then you're going to let your whole body come down. So we're coming down into our Sphinx pose. You can rock the hips, you can adjust the legs. If you've got a lot of sensation in the low back, you may find some comfort by taking your legs farther apart, letting your heels naturally splay open. And of course, adjusting the distance between your elbows and your torso. So if you need a gentler Sphinx, the elbows walk forward and you've got your rib cage now supporting you as well from the floor. If you like the sensation of the deeper back bend, of course the elbows are closer to you. Whichever version you decide to stay in, you're going to accentuate the action of the chest going forward, the shoulders going back. So not only do they go back, but they also go down. And then in opposition to that, the crown of the head reaches up. You can move your head and neck around. You can nod yes, nod no. You can do half circles if there's tension building up. And then as you're holding, you're pressing down through the forearms. So there's that pressing action. You'll get some fatigue happening in the upper body, but that's okay. You can always take a break and then come back in. The key here is that the back bend isn't too much for you. And you'll know if you start to really clench your glutes or squeezing your bum cheeks, then you're protecting the back. So you're going to want to adjust the degree of back bend until you can have relaxed glutes. And then we'll continue to hold here for a few more moments. We're going to start to soften out of the Sphinx pose. Easiest way is to let the elbows now splay out, lower down, cross the forearms and rest the forehead. As the forehead's resting, you can rock the hips from side to side or bend the knees and let the knees and legs rock side to side for windshield wipers. Relieve any tension that built up, take some deep breaths, and then we'll move again shortly. Lift the head and just bring your hands underneath the shoulders for a moment and rock yourself side to side a few times. Make sure that you can feel the support of your rib cage underneath you. And then you're going to hold yourself on the rib cage. The legs again can be either active or relaxed depending on what you feel you need more of. I like to have my knees lifted, tops of the feet pressing. We're going to do a little bit of a back exercise for strength. Modify if you need to, but this is what it's going to look like. I like to call it swimming. So with the rib cage supporting you, you reach your arms forward and then you pull the arms back. So forward, palms are facing, back, palms again are facing each other. And you're just going to hold the lift and continue to swim with your arms. Last big swimming action. And then bringing your hands down off your mat into cactus arms. We'll bring one cheek down. And again, you can rock the hips or move the legs to relieve any tension. Switch your cheeks. And then lift the head, take your hands off your mat so that they're at like 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And again, the modification is choosing where your hands are gonna go. So if you want gentler, the hands are farther away. If you want a deeper back bend, the hands come closer to you. Still at the 10, 2 o'clock orientation. Press down through your hands and start to straighten your arms, rise up into your back bend. Again, you shouldn't feel like you have to really clench your glutes to stay here. You can always go down lower, you can stay up higher. You want a slight firmness through the belly. Same action, shoulders down and back, chest forward and lifted. Crown of the head reaching up towards the ceiling or the sky. We'll hold in our seal posture, just lowering back down at any time you feel you need to come out. The last couple breaths as you hold your seal posture. We're going to bend at the elbows, lower the body back down, and as you lower, just slide the hands below the shoulders or a little bit closer to the waist. Tuck the shoulder blades and elbows in towards each other. Press down through the knees, straighten your arms to press up, and then hold at the top. Let's take a moment to firm through the belly, and then really nice and slow, start to glide the hips back towards the heels, just inch by inch. Give the muscles of the back time to adjust to being stretched rather than contracted, until eventually you can rest in the version of child's pose that you choose. So you may want narrow knees or wide knees, Hands can either go forward or back, but the forehead should be on something. Don't let it float in space. We'll rise back up into tabletop, and you can swing your legs out in front. Coming to sit, you can add a little lift under the sit bones should you require it, or even a rolled up blanket under the knees to ease out any tension there. We're going to come to a nice tall spine. You can fix your pants. And once you've got that nice tall spine, hands can be alongside the hips for Dandasana or staff pose. So the toes are pulling back, the legs are pressing down, shoulders over hips, hands can be supporting you beside the hips. Of course, there's firmness through the belly as almost every posture. And we're going to move into our side bend from here. So keeping all of these actions, the legs are pressing, the toes are pulling back, nice tall spine. Just take your fingers out to the side, fingertips are down. And we'll start to reach one arm up, doesn't matter which side you start at, and then lean over. So we're trying to create the space between the ribs on the one side. You can modify the top arm, whether it's straight, bent, back of the head, or even to hip. And then you're going to round yourself like you're going over a barrel. Once you feel like you've been on this side enough time, you're going to rise up and switch. And then you'll just continue to go back and forth when you intuitively know that it's time to move. Again, choosing your variations for the top arm, and maybe even where you place your bottom hand. The gaze is another option for you to experiment with. You may want to look up, forward, or even down to the floor. We got a couple more transitions to go through. Finish the cycle that you're on. We'll meet back in Dandasana or staff pose. Upright, hands alongside the hips, firmness through the belly, crown of the head reaching. Now you can add as many props as you feel like you would like or need, and we're going to go forward over the legs. So you can either focus primarily on the legs by keeping the spine tall and straight, hinging from the hip crease to come forward, and almost thinking like this is a back bend. So you're going to get your shoulders down and back, you're going to lead with your chest, keep the spine nice and long, and then try to lean forward. Hands can support you wherever they are. Or alternatively, if you want to have that sensation not only in the legs but in the back, for most of us, if we round forward, we'll feel the stretch and release through the spine and the legs. It may be safer for you to go forward with the flat back if you're dealing with any back injuries. So choose wisely, and then we will stay in our caterpillar pose for a good 2 to 3 minutes. You're welcome to add props to come underneath the forehead, bolsters onto the legs to bring your elbows onto. If there's a lot of strain in the head or the neck, please support your head by bringing it into your hands or your palms or onto a prop. And then settle in. Go back to any thoughts that are percolating about maybe someone that you know or yourself who wraps themselves up in pretty paper and presents it to the world. And is that real? Do we really know what's going on behind the pretty paper? do we want to know? Might be a better question, actually. Move nice and slow as you come back up to wherever you were. Nice and tall. Take a few deep breaths as you come upright. You may need to roll the shoulders or rock the hips a little bit, move a little bit side to side. And we're going to move right into a twist. So right knee is going to come into the chest. This might be enough right here, or you can cross the right foot over the left leg. Again, this might be enough, just pulling the right knee in towards the center of your chest. Or you can rock to one side and pull the bottom leg in as well. So you've got 3 different options. Create the tall spine. Keep that action of pulling the one knee in towards you, squishing your belly against the thigh. And then we'll keep that as we turn in both directions. So we'll start by going to your right. Use your free arm to pull the knee. The right hand can go behind you. And then initiating the rotation. Choose where you want your gaze to go. And you may need to kind of lean back and wrap the belly around the thigh to get a bit more space. Return back to center, switch your arms, and rotate the opposite direction to your left. We'll return back to face forward. Release your legs and we'll switch sides. So shake them out, move around, and then we'll switch. So left knee into chest. Again, here you could stay or you can do the crossover, Or you can add the bottom leg being tucked back as well. Start by getting the spine tall, pulling the knee into your chest, creating that sandwich. And then we'll be turning to the left first. So using your right arm to pull the knee in, left hand goes behind, and turning to rotate and hold. We'll come back forward, switching the arms and rotating to your right. Now you'll unravel, come back to face forward, release the legs, shake and move them around. And then you're going to come to the middle of your mat with your knees bent out in front. And for this one, you can have your arms forward or you can have them behind your thighs. Again, just choose what works best for you. We do want to maintain the nice tall spine, chest lifted. We're going to lean back until we feel the abdominals start to engage. And then you can choose whether the feet lift or not, whether your hands support you. But wherever you go, we're going to add some movement. So we're going to go back and pull forward. So it might just be a couple inches. Here's our yang again, okay? So we're trying to get some movement. And you can make it as big or as small as you like, as dynamic as you need. We're almost done. Holding at the top, release your feet. Grab onto your knees or your shins, round your spine, and take deep breaths. Pull yourself up nice and tall. We're going to hang on to the backs of the thighs and just one vertebrae at a time, finding our way onto the back. So see if you can get the low back to slowly come down and then rolling all the way up towards the shoulders until finally the back of the head comes down. Once you're safely down, pull the knees into the chest. Rock a little bit side to side. And we'll come back to center. You can extend both of the legs up towards the ceiling. You can either point or flex your feet. Excuse me. Hands can be down on the floor or the mat. Adjust the shoulder blades underneath you. Palms are down. We're going to take one leg down towards the floor and then pull it back up. So you're alternating straight leg lifts. Again, you might feel a pointed foot or a flexed foot works better for you. You can go fast or slow. Keep the abdominals firm. And you don't have to lower down the whole way. You can just go to where you know you can pull back up with a little bit of effort, but also ease. cycle that you're on, we'll meet back with the feet lifted. You can flex the foot again or point, and then you're going to start to pull the legs towards you. So you can use your hands on the thighs or the calves or the toes. Keep your low back down and just come into whatever degree of stretch you can tolerate. We'll hold here, so the action to remember is the action of pressing your tailbone down and away from you so the low back stays firmly rooted. Try not to let your bum come up off the floor. You may have to bend the knees in order to keep it there. And then you can work towards a straighter leg. We're just going to hold here for a few moments. Now, keeping the low back on the floor of the mat, take your knees away from each other or your legs away from each other, and then bend the knees to come into happy baby. Again, you can grab the feet, the calves, or the thighs, and we're using the strength of our arms to pull elbows and knees down towards the floor of the mat on the outsides of our rib cage. And we'll hold here. You're going to bring the knees back together out in front of the chest. Keep the knees on your chest. Take your arms out to the side. Palms can be face down. And then you're going to let your knees go to one side. They can either stay and hold, or you can just do a light tap. And when you intuitively feel like you want to go to the other side, you lift. And you go to the other side. So again, you can either be staying and holding, taking deep breaths, or you can alternate going from side to side, slow and careful. And the stretch and release through the hips. Make sure you've done both sides evenly, and we'll meet back up, knees to chest. You can wrap your arms around the legs. Any last movement or shape that you need before Shavasana, take it now. If you're ready, you're going to extend your legs and arms, and you're going to come into whatever shape is the most restful for you. I like to have as much space as possible, so legs wider, arms wide, like I'm going to make a snow angel. Rotating the wrists and ankles, adjusting, squeezing, and tensing up different muscles until eventually I can get them to relax. And then finally closing the eyes down. Feel free to add blankets or eye covers for your rest here. Take your time settling. With your eyes closed and your body relaxed, the focus now can shift back to the breath. Nice, slow, easy breath, unaltered, unguided. Natural, easy flow. As the body relaxes and the breath is also relaxed, then the awareness can shift back to the thoughts. And maybe just taking a few moments to think over whether or not you feel like you're living your truth, speaking your truth, and can you recognize that in others? Are they speaking their truth? And you don't have to do anything about it. Sometimes it's just a matter of becoming more aware. Real comes from the center of our unique essence and speaks to the moment from that center. Real has a boldness to it, an essence, a spontaneity. Real asks us to live from a place where there is nothing to defend and nothing to manage. It is not superimposed or prepackaged. Real is something we might not always like in another, but we come to know there will be no surprises. Real is not always pleasant, but it is trustworthy. What is driving you to distort yourself or silence yourself? Or say yes when you mean no? What is so dangerous in the moment about the truth that you are choosing to lie? Bringing your awareness back into the physical, start to rotate ankles and wrists again. Tensing muscles and relaxing until eventually you can come into a full body stretch. And after your full body stretch, either bringing your knees back into your chest and rocking forward and back to rise up, or coming onto your side fetal position and eventually rising up. We'll meet cross-legged where we started. Come into your comfortable seat. You can relax the hands onto the knees and the thighs. Drop the chin slightly. Eyes are downcast or closed. We'll end our practice by bringing the hands to Anjali Mudra, prayer hands in front of the heart, and just taking a moment to honor how difficult it is to live with our truth. Sometimes our patterns are so ingrained we're not even aware that we're not speaking our truth. And that's where our yoga practice comes in, finding quiet spaces of time to reflect and to think, to heighten our awareness. And then to make a decision. Are we going to make a change or not? and that is always our choice. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening. Thank you for allowing me to guide your practice, and namaste. Feel free, as always, to send me a message in whatever platform you choose: email, messenger, Facebook, Instagram, phone call. You can call me. All the information's on the website, and I'll always answer you truthfully. I promise. So, namaste.